Don't skip. They'll never admit this to you. But every woman has emotional soft spots. Not weaknesses in a bad way, but triggers, patterns, hidden places inside her psychology that she doesn't even realize are running the show. And most men never see them, never understand them, never master them. That's why they chase, they beg, they get ghosted, and then they wonder, what happened? But the men who rise above it, the men who study emotional strength, stoic calm, and masculine power, they don't chase, they attract, because they know what most never learn. There are 7 subtle female weaknesses that, when understood, make you unforgettable. Let's begin. Weakness 1. Her emotions lead her more than logic. She might say she wants logic, reason, and structure, but her feelings control her decisions even when she doesn't realize it. When she feels safe, she stays. When she feels bored, she pulls away. When she feels mystery, she chases. So don't argue with her words. Learn to speak to her emotions. Stay calm when she's storming. Be present when she's overthinking. And never try to logic your way into her heart. Lead with energy, not explanation. Weakness 2. She craves emotional tension, not constant comfort. If you think being nice all the time will make her love you, you've already lost. She needs comfort, yes, but more than that, she needs tension. That feeling of not knowing what's next. That spark that comes from unpredictability. When things are too easy, she disconnects. When she knows everything about you, she loses curiosity. So be kind, but keep your edge. Stay warm, but unpredictable. Give her something to feel, not just something to hold. Weakness 3. Her mind remembers how you made her feel. You could give her the most expensive gifts. You could say all the right words, send long messages, write poems, buy flowers, and tell her every day how much she means to you. And yes, she might smile. She might even say thank you. But days later, weeks later, those words fade. Those gifts get forgotten. The perfume runs out. The texts get buried. And what stays? How she felt in your presence. That feeling, not the surface actions, is what imprints on her memory. She remembers how your energy made her feel. She remembers how safe she felt when she was near you. She remembers if you were steady, or if you were insecure, if you were grounded, or if you were begging for her approval. She remembers when you said nothing, but everything in your eyes told her she could trust you, or that she couldn't. Women have a deeper emotional memory than men. They remember moments through emotion, not logic. She won't replay the exact words you said, but she will replay the tone, the way you looked at her, the calm in your voice, the space you gave her, or the way you chased when she pulled back. When a man speaks too much, explains too much, and fills every silence with words, it begins to feel like noise. But when a man holds his ground, stays calm, and allows silence to speak for him, it becomes powerful. Because in silence, the truth comes out. And the man who doesn't rush to fill the gap shows strength. His presence does what words can't. She will always remember the one who didn't try to impress her but impressed her anyway. With how calm he stayed during tension, with how he looked at her like he saw her soul, with how he didn't react when she was testing him, but stood like a man who knows who he is. That leaves an emotional imprint she can't shake. Long after the talkers are forgotten, the one who made her feel safe, steady, and respected, he stays in her heart. That's why the quiet, present man, the one who speaks with his energy, not his mouth, becomes unforgettable. Because women are not seeking just excitement, they're seeking depth. And a man's stillness, when it's real, becomes the most attractive sound in the world. Weakness 4. She tests without knowing she's testing. She may smile at you one day, then act cold the next. She may seem deeply interested, then suddenly distant. She may say something sharp, pull back for no reason, or fall completely silent, when things seemed fine just a moment ago. And you're left confused, wondering what you did wrong. But here's the truth most men never understand. She's testing you, and she doesn't even realize it. Not in a calculated or manipulative way. Not to play games or mess with your head, but because something deep in her emotional wiring needs to feel your strength before she can trust it. Her tests don't come with a warning. They come in her silence, in her attitude, in her pulling away just to see if you'll come chasing after her like everyone else has. It's not because she enjoys watching you suffer. It's because something inside her is quietly asking, can this man hold space for me? Can he handle my emotions? Can he stay solid when I'm not? She doesn't want to carry the emotional weight. She doesn't want to be the one holding the relationship together when things get shaky. She wants to know that you can handle the storms she doesn't always know how to explain. Most men panic in this space. They become needy. They ask too many questions. They send long paragraphs trying to fix what they don't understand. They beg for answers, over-explain, or try to calm her with logic. But it only pushes her further away. Not because she's cruel, but because reactive energy makes her feel unsafe. When she senses you've lost your emotional control, even for a second, she sees it as a weakness. And even if she doesn't say it out loud, her attraction starts to fade. She may stay, but something inside her has already begun to pull away. Because if you crumble under her silence, how will you stand strong when real life hits harder? The man who passes her tests isn't perfect, but he's calm. He's steady. He doesn't chase her energy, he holds his own. When she's moody, he doesn't rush to solve it. When she pulls away, he doesn't run after her. When she says something emotional, he listens, but stays grounded. He doesn't try to dominate her. He doesn't try to control her emotions. He simply remains unshaken. And that stillness, that quiet power, that containment, is exactly what she didn't even know she was looking for. Because when a man can stay rooted during her storm, she feels something she hasn't felt in a long time. Safe. Safe to be soft. Safe to let go. Safe to trust that she doesn't always have to be the strong one. And that kind of safety doesn't come from gifts or words or promises. It comes from energy steady, masculine, controlled energy that doesn't shake when tested. Understand this. Her tests aren't there to break you. They're there to reveal you. To show whether you're centered in yourself or whether you're dependent on her mood to feel okay. Because a woman doesn't fall deeply for the man who reacts to everything. She falls for the man who can hold everything and still keep his peace. And the rarest kind of man she'll ever meet is the one who doesn't need to prove himself. The one who doesn't panic when she changes. The one who sees her emotions not as a problem, but as a reminder to rise higher in his own discipline. When you become that man, the testing slows, the chaos fades, and her walls start to fall, not because you pushed them down, but because your presence made them unnecessary. That's power. That's leadership. That's the kind of strength she respects and the kind of man she never forgets. Weakness 5. She fears losing control, but desires a man who has it. She moves through the day like a general on mission. Calendars set, plans drafted, messages answered before the bubble even finishes popping. Her friends count on her. Her family leans on her. Her co-workers ask for one more favor because you always figure it out. From the outside, she looks unstoppable. Perfect hair, straight posture, confident laugh. But deep inside her chest sits a small knot made of questions she never says aloud. What happens if I drop one ball? Who will catch me if I stumble? Will anyone be strong enough to tell me, rest, I've got this? That knot tightens every time she carries a burden alone, every time she has to remind someone of their promise, every time she hears, you're so independent, you don't need help. The truth is, she is capable, but capability can become a cage. Yes, she can lead, decide, organize, push, but the weight of always being on drains her spirit like water leaking through a small crack in a bucket. It is why, late at night when the apartment is finally quiet and her to-do list is folded shut, she lies awake feeling both proud and exhausted. She thinks, "I'm strong, yet I'm tired of always needing to be strong." She will rarely say this out loud, saying it feels like weakness, and weakness scares her more than extra work. So she protects herself with more control, double-checking the restaurant booking, texting first to confirm times, planning every weekend down to the minute. Control feels safe. Surrender feels like stepping off a cliff. And here is the paradox living inside her. The very thing she fears letting go is also the thing her heart secretly craves. She wants to meet a man who is calm even when Wi-Fi fails during a work call, who speaks slowly when traffic clogs the road and everyone is honking, who keeps his posture steady when a waiter brings the wrong order and she starts to feel the old urge to fix the moment herself. She wants proof experienced in real time that he carries an inner compass stronger than circumstance, stronger than her doubts. Not the man who dominates rooms with volume, throwing instructions like darts. Loud control only triggers her fight or flight. Not the man who agrees with everything she says to avoid conflict. That only adds to her load because she must choose for both of them. Certainly not the man who spells big promises, then collapses when pressure shows up. She has seen that movie, and the ending always costs her peace. She is looking for something else, a quiet authority. A man who is so aligned with his values that approval feels optional, not necessary. A man who can pause for 3 seconds before he answers a confrontational comment because those 3 seconds reveal more strength than 30 shouted words. A man whose planning is felt, not flaunted. He knows where he's going. He doesn't need to post a map on every wall. At first she might push against that steadiness. She may tease, question, or even challenge decisions, partly because old habits whisper, "No one can steer better than you," partly because she needs evidence. Will he hold his line if I lean on it? Each test is really a search for solid ground. When his calm does not crack, something begins to unclench inside her. She cancels the backup plan she always keeps tucked away. She exhales in a new way as if finally, after miles of swimming, her feet touch sand under the water. With him, she no longer rehearses every sentence before she speaks. She laughs sooner, sleeps deeper, forgets to check her phone during dinner. Even her posture softens. Shoulders drop the millimeter of tension that has lived there for years. The world outside still asks her to lead, but now she has a place to rest. Not because he took over her life, but because his unwavering presence reminds her she doesn't always have to be the shield. This strength he carries isn't forged in arguments or bragging rights. It is born in small daily choices, waking up early to train when no one is watching, telling the truth even when a lie is easier, keeping deadlines he set for himself, holding eye contact without intimidation, saying no, gently but firmly when values are crossed. These habits build an invisible fortress around his spirit. She feels that fortress the same way you feel the sun through closed curtains, quiet, constant, undeniable. And in that steady warmth she finally whispers a sentence she once believed she would never say, "I don't have to control everything anymore." The fear loosens, the knot melts, and control becomes a choice rather than a compulsion. That shift is priceless. It's not submission from weakness, it's release born from trust. He never had to announce his power. He never demanded she step back. He simply stood rooted, and roots invite any storm-tossed traveler to rest beneath their branches. This is why she gravitates to the man who leads himself first, because his self-command grants her the freedom to lower her guard without losing her dignity. So remember, she might look like she has it all under control, but part of her is hoping to meet the man whose calm says, "You're safe," not through grand speeches, but through a life that proves it. When you become that man-steady voice, steady breath, steady purpose, you don't need to convince her to trust you. Her own heart will recognize the shelter and step inside. Weakness 6. She needs to feel desired, but not worshipped. Watch what happens when she steps into a room and your eyes meet hers. In that split second, she can tell if you truly see her. The subtle lift in her shoulders, the half smile she tries to hide, the lighter way she suddenly walks. A woman lives for that spark, the quiet proof that a man she respects feels drawn to her. It awakens something soft and warm in her chest. It tells her, "I am wanted, I am special, I am alive in his eyes." But the same spark that ignites desire can, in the very next breath, be smothered by neediness. Desire says, "I choose you because I value you." Worship says, "I need you because I don't value myself enough without you." Desire is steady fire, worship is wildfire, burning everything in its path, including attraction. Most men cross that thin line without noticing. They start with healthy attraction, a genuine compliment, a steady gaze, a plan for Friday night. Then they shift into worship without warning, endless texting, apologizing for things that were never wrong, giving up their friends, their hobbies, even their boundaries. Each little sacrifice feels romantic on the surface, but underneath it whispers, "I will shrink so you stay." And no woman feels safe leaning on a man who keeps shrinking. A woman tests this line faster than you might think. She will notice if you cancel your gym session the moment she calls. She will notice if you change your opinion to match hers every single time. She will notice if you tolerate that first small jab of disrespect because you're terrified she might leave. She files these moments away, not to be unkind, but because her intuition is measuring, is this man solid, or will he fold the second I push? Folding signals weakness. And weakness, cloaked in worship, drains her attraction faster than silence ever could. Understand how her heart works. She wants to feel like the only woman who can pull that deep, steady look from your eyes, but she also wants to know you can look away when she crosses a line. She enjoys hearing that her presence brightens your day, but she also wants to see you still shine when she's busy and can't reply. She smiles when you praise her mind and her style, but she can sense if those words are coming from abundance or from thirst. You hold the power to shape that energy. When you greet her with calm confidence, she feels chosen, not trapped. When you plan a date, pay attention to details, and then enjoy the evening without checking your phone every 3 minutes. She feels prioritized, not worshipped. When she tests you with a playful tease or an unexpected delay, and you respond with a smile instead of panic, she feels your depth, not your desperation. Think of desire as a bowstring, too loose, and the arrow never flies, too tight, and it snaps. The sweet spot is tension that feels alive, but never frantic. You achieve that by knowing your own worth better than anyone else. Wake up early and move your body. Pour yourself into a craft, a business, a mission that excites you beyond romance. Keep friends who challenge you, mentors who guide you, habits that sharpen you. From that full cup you offer her admiration, never begging. You give her attention, never your self-respect. She becomes a bright, cherished part of your life, not the oxygen you need to breathe. And she feels this distinction. She can tell when a compliment comes from a kingdom you already rule, not from a barren land hoping she will plant the first tree. She can tell when you hold the door because you were raised with standards, not because you're counting favors. She can tell when you stay after an argument to listen and work things out, not because you're afraid to be alone, but because you value truth over ego. The magic happens in the small, quiet moments. When you walk beside her in a crowded street and place your hand calmly on the small of her back, guiding her through the noise. When you notice the effort she put into her look and say, "That color was made for you," then move on with the rest of your evening. When she asks you to skip your weekly run and you smile and say, "I'd love to see you tonight. Let's meet after I finish my run," because your health is non-negotiable. That boundary tells her, he's choosing me, but he's still choosing himself. Do not fear losing her if you stand firm. What she truly fears is losing respect for a man who refuses to stand at all. She will walk away from comfort if it means salvaging admiration. She will stay up replaying your silence if that silence came from dignity, not spite. She will whisper your name to her friends, not because you gave her roses on day 2, but because you remained unshaken when her mood swung like a gate in the wind. So desire her. Let your eyes linger one heartbeat longer than polite. Send the text that makes her feel seen. Plan the date that proves you pay attention, but never let desire mutate into worship. Keep the throne inside your own chest and invite her to sit beside it, not upon it. When she comes close, welcome her warmth. When she pulls back, keep burning on your own fuel. The paradox is this: the less you abandon yourself, the more irresistible you become. She will wonder how you stay so level while still making her feel so wanted. She will question how you can admire her glow and yet carry a light just as bright within you. She will feel safe, not smothered, valued, not venerated. And safety mixed with intrigue is attraction's strongest potion. One day, she will look at you across a table or under city lights and realize something profound. You never tried to fit your world into hers. You simply opened yours wide enough for her to step insideno, begging, no boasting, no loss of dignity. At that moment, her question will shift from, "Does he really want me?" to, "How do I keep a man like this in my life?" And that shift, quiet yet monumentalis, the true measure of desire fulfilled without worship given. Remember, treat her like a queen because you live like a king. Guard your crown, guard your peace, guard your mission. When she sees you protecting what makes you whole, she knows her place beside you will never be built on your emptiness. And that certainty, that balance, that unwavering center is what turns simple desire into lasting fascination. Weakness 7. Her silence doesn't mean she's over you, it means she's watching you. She disappears from your screen. No ding from her phone. No bubble that says typing. Just space empty, silent, stretching wider with every passing hour. Your pulse quickens. You wonder, did my last joke fall flat? Maybe she's busy, or maybe she found someone else. Thoughts race, stacking on top of each other until they feel heavier than your own chest. You stare at the conversation, hoping 3 little dots will appear and save you from spiraling. Most men jump straight into action. They type another text, just something small to show they care. When that still earns no reply, they send a longer message explaining how they didn't mean to sound cold, or how they had fun talking earlier. When silence answers again, they start scrolling back, rereading every word, looking for a hidden mistake. Each unsent reply rattles louder in their head. Why isn't she answering? But her silence is not always rejection. Often, it's a quiet spotlight aimed at you. She steps back to see how brightly you shine on your own. She wants to know, are you steady enough to stand without her energy feeding you? If your confidence dims the moment she's not there to clap, it tells her everything she needs to know. Think of silence like a still lake. Whatever you drop into it, the smallest pebble of neediness, the slightest tremor of panic makes ripples that travel far. If you toss in a heavy stone of desperation, the splash is loud and messy. But if you breathe, if you trust the water to settle on its own, you remain the unshaken shore. And she watches from across that lake, measuring which man you are. She might withdraw because life got busy. She might need space to sort emotions she can't name. She might simply be tired. Yet beneath each surface reason, a deeper question quietly echoes. Is the connection real enough to survive quiet? Words can be performed. Stillness cannot. When she falls silent, she is feeling for the shape of your presence. Does it crumble when you can't see her? Do you rush to fill the gap with emojis, paragraphs, confessions, alarms? Or do you let the gap exist while you continue your own life, still training, still building, still laughing with friends, still reading that book, still pushing forward on plans that matter whether she watches or not? A grounded man understands that silence is simply another kind of conversation. She says nothing. He answers with steadiness. She pauses. He continues walking his path, leaving room for her to step beside him when she's ready. In that space, she can observe the natural rhythm of his world. If it is rich and self-fueled, she feels both relief and curiosity. Relief because she's met someone who won't lean on her mood for oxygen. Curiosity because rare things invite wonder. Women are intuitive. Their hearts read beyond text bubbles and call logs. They feel the way your energy shifts when she withdraws. If your laughter fades the moment she goes quiet, she feels the weight of your dependence. If your day's pace slows to wait for her reply, she feels the gravity of your need. Dependence and need create pressure, and pressure smothers attraction. A man anchored in himself walks differently. He replies when it's natural, not reactionary. He invests, but never gambles his peace. He knows intimacy is precious, but never confuses closeness with rescue. He gives the best of himself freely and keeps the core of himself holy. So when silence comes, he treats it like nighttime. Night is neither good nor bad. It is simply part of the cycle. Under stars, he trains, he plans, he rests. He trusts that dawn arrives when it will, and no amount of shouting at the sky will speed the sun. This posture does something to her heart. At first, she may feel puzzled. Why isn't he chasing? Then intrigued. Does he not care? Then reflective. Or is he stronger than I thought? Her mind replays your calm response, the way one replays a powerful song trying to understand why it feels different and strangely soothing. Remember, attraction grows in contrast. If every other man begged for attention, your silence bathed in confidence stands out like a lighthouse on a dark shore. It signals, here is a place built on rock, not sand. When storms hit, that lighthouse remains. It does not run along the beach crying for boats to notice it. Its very stillness saves lives. None of this means you play games or withhold affection. It means you recognize affection loses meaning when pushed from fear. You respond when you have something true to offer, not when anxiety demands relief. You give warmth in person, you share time and energy, but you do not trade your frame for fleeting comfort. So the next time her chat bubble disappears into quiet, close the app, exhale, feel your feet on the ground. Ask yourself, what was I building before my phone lit up? Return to that task. Text her later when your day's rhythm invites a genuine exchange, not a panic check. Maybe she'll reply right away. Maybe she'll reply tomorrow. Maybe she never does. All three outcomes are tolerable when you value your peace above her mood. Paradoxically, the first two become far more likely when the third no longer scares you. If she comes back, and many women do it, won't be because you chased, but because your stillness echoed louder than any novel of apologies. She will feel drawn to the steadiness that kept humming, even when she hit pause on the song. She will read your composed reply and remember how many frantic bubbles she once received from other men. She will compare it to the quiet respect in your single sentence. Hope your day is good. Talk soon. That one line carries more weight because it leans on nothing. Silence, then, becomes your ally. It filters fear from courage, neediness from self-worth, impulse from intention. It lets her see you unclothed by constant conversation. If she likes what she sees, purpose, poise, patience returns with deeper respect. If she decides to go, she simply makes room for a woman who can value the steadiness you guard. Either way, you remain intact, walking forward, anchored. And that, in the end, is why her silence is never the enemy. It is the mirror you didn't know you needed. It reflects whether the man staring back relies on outside noise to know he exists, or whether he can sit in still water and feel the pulse of his own heart guiding him. Master that stillness, and you become unforgettable. Not because you shouted your worth, but because you radiated it in the quiet, the place where true value always reveals itself. This isn't about learning tactics to impress her. It's not about lines to make her feel something. It's not about playing games, pretending you don't care, or acting cold just to seem powerful. That's what boys do. That's what the lost do. What you've just heard is not about getting her, it's about finding you. It's about stepping out of the noise and into your natural power. The kind of power that doesn't need to be proven. The kind of power that doesn't chase because it never runs out. This is female psychology, not the surface-level stuff you see on the internet, but the real thing. It's ancient, emotional, hardwired into her being. It's the reason she responds to confidence without arrogance, to clarity without noise, to calm without weakness. Because what she's really searching for is a man who leads himself. And that kind of man is rare. He doesn't wake up needing validation. He doesn't panic when someone pulls away. He doesn't crumble under silence. Because his identity isn't up for debate. It's set in stone. He doesn't ask, "What does she want from me?" He asks, "What do I want from this life?" He moves like a man who has somewhere to be. He speaks like a man who's said enough. He lives like a man who knows his presence is the real gift and not something he has to keep giving away for free. In a world full of noise, distraction, and men who trade their soul for attention, the rarest man isn't the loudest in the room. He's the quiet one who carries thunder in his silence. Not the richest, not the smoothest, but the man who chooses his values over his cravings. The one who builds discipline over dopamine. The one who walks with calm power because he no longer fights for approval. And that man isn't waiting for her. He's becoming so deeply himself that the right woman feels lucky just to witness his growth. She doesn't control his pace. She doesn't get to decide his worth. She either rises to walk beside him or watches from a distance while he keeps walking. You don't become that man by watching videos and nodding. You become him by living differently, by choosing patience over panic, mission over mood, presence over performance. So if you made it this far, it means something in you is waking up. Not to chase, not to react, but to rise. Not to impress women, but to walk in such truth that women feel it without you saying a word. Drop calm power in the comments if you're done waiting for approval. If you're ready to build a life that doesn't shake when someone pulls away. A life of direction, focus, control. Not to dominate others, but to master yourself. Like, share, and subscribe if you're choosing to lead with quiet strength in a world that screams for attention. Because the world doesn't need more desperate men trying to be liked. It needs stoic kings. Men who hold their energy. Men who protect their peace. Men who lead not with their mouths, but with their presence. And if that's who you're becoming, welcome. You're not watching anymore. You're becoming the one she'll never forget. Because you remembered who you are, before she ever had the chance to define you.